Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to be doing another episode of Movie Spotlight. And today we're going to be looking at a movie that's out of Cronenberg's catalog, and a lot of it's a movie that I think gets overshadowed by a lot of his other films, stuff like The Fly and Scanners, and even Videodrome. And that is his first foray into full-on body horror. Which is The Brood from 1979. Now, he did have some stuff with his first film, Shivers, which I believe was 1975, and he also did kind of a zombie-esque type of movie in 1977, but this was the first time I think he actually delved into the idea of the human psyche relating to the physical form. The other stuff was more or less kind of like, aliens infecting people's bodies and shit like that. But this was the first time that we actually kind of saw his intertwining of the mental process of somebody turning into a monster, and also the matching up with the physical process of turning into a physical monster. But this was really his first. I think this was his big step forward. This is actually one of my favorite films from him. I would say I would put this above most of his movies, except for maybe The Fly. Maybe even above Scanners, because I really do like the way that they kind of play this out. They don't really make you think at the beginning of it that anything strange is really going on. There's stuff that's happening, but you don't. It's the type of movie where if you didn't know Cronenberg, people watching this in theaters in 1979 must have been shitting their pants. Because that's the thing, is when you watch this movie for the first time, you don't expect it to go the places that it does. You don't expect it to try and go the places that it does, and you don't expect it to be what it is. You expect it to be more of a psychological type of film with some violence mixed in. But as you progress through the film, it turns into this insane narrative where you're not even sure if half of it's real anymore. It definitely blurs the lines between what you would consider reality and fiction, because the world that our main character sort of lives in, and we have a couple main characters actually in this. It kind of we follow barely one main character and then a couple supporting characters. And the main character is Frank Carveth, who's played by Art Hindle. And he's kind of, basically his wife, who's played by Samantha Agar, she is checked into this kind of mental rest retreat. Now, this is a lot of Cronenberg's movies take place in England. This one does too. And basically, she's there because she had a mental breakdown and a bunch of other stuff, and we find out more about that later. And this place is run by the late, great Oliver Reed, who plays Dr. Hal Raglan. And we get a monologue from him, actually, at the very beginning of this movie, which the immediate beginning of this movie is weird. It's a very strange film when you find out what exactly it's really delving into with the visuals and the way it works. Now, the other thing is it kind of acts as almost like a mystery or a whodunit, and a lot of especially in the early parts of it. And a lot of Cronenberg movies don't really do that. We kind of know at least how the world works in a lot of Cronenberg movies by a certain way through. Maybe The Fly is one that keeps it under wraps for a long time. Videodrome, we never really understand how the world works in Videodrome. Again, it works more based on a primal and emotional level as opposed to actual, physical interactions and stuff like that that we would have in a regular film. Because the emotional aspect is manifesting itself physically. You see Seth Brundle in The Fly, he turns from a regular man as he's slowly deteriorating and losing his humanity and turning into a fly. In this, we see a lot of stuff involving family drama. Obviously, Samantha Agar's character and Art Hindle's character are having marital problems. They have a young daughter. And basically, that's really what Art Hindle is looking at, is he's trying to get divorced from his wife and he's trying to take custody of his daughter, which was a lot harder to do back then rather than the way it is now, even if the mother is in a loony bin, basically. So a lot of that aspect of it is intertwined into it with the family drama, and I like that because it has whenever you look at something that involves family drama, there's always an ugly side. You know, the old saying that everybody has skeletons in their closet. That's kind of what this movie is, and it depicts those characters in a very physical way. And the big part about this movie that I love is they save the main set piece for the very end of the movie, with Art Hindle and Oliver Reed teaming up and doing, their thing again. I'm not going to, even though the movie was made in 1979, I'm not really going to go over too much of the twists and turns, because it does kind of ruin the film if you haven't watched it before. But by the time we get to the end of the movie, we get that main set piece, and we finally see what the hell is going on in this film. And once you see it, it's one of those things like, what the fuck? It's one of those moments where you're just staring at the screen, and your brain kind of skips a beat, and you're just going, what the hell am I looking at? And then shortly thereafter, you realize exactly what you're looking at. But the other thing is the idea of, children killing people is kind of an odd, it's a very odd type of thing to do in a movie, and it was more common back then, especially among foreign films. A lot of Italian films did that, actually, but it was kind of a bit of a taboo subject in a lot of movies to have the kid be the murderer, unless it was something creative, like like in The Omen, the kid is the son of Satan, very literally. Unless you go with that type of a twist, if it's just an evil kid, then it kind of, even Chucky kind of got around that, because it's not actually a kid, it's an adult soul in a doll's body, even though it's the same size and proportion as a small child. But in this movie, it's like, no, the offspring are evil. The offspring are what's going around and doing horrible things, and you need to figure out what the hell is going on. And I like that about this movie with Cronenberg, is he's very smart about how much he shows and how much he doesn't show. When he puts something on screen, he's putting that thing on screen for a reason, and you should pay attention to it. He's a very smart director. Unfortunately, he kind of just developed into that body horror niche, and he never really got out of it all that much, other than a few things. But I mean, he rules that niche. There's nobody else that really inhabits that like him, except for maybe you could make the argument for John Carpenter's The Thing, but not necessarily. But I don't necessarily think that's too much of an argument, because that's one film versus basically Cronenberg's entire filmography. But like I said, I love The Brood. I think it's one of Cronenberg's most kind of passed over movies out of his really great film career, from the part of his career that stretched from the late 70s all the way through the mid 80s. That period in time, and even a little bit beyond that too, that period in time when he was doing a lot of really, really amazing films with great special effects and great stories. But this is one of my favorites. It definitely has, if you're expecting, stuff like The Fly, it's a little bit more toned down than that in terms of what you see, or at least in the frequency that you see it. It doesn't go full on like that movie did, but it's still pretty disturbing. But that's just kind of my opinion on the movie. I want to know what yours is. Are you a Cronenberg fan? Are you not a Cronenberg fan? Are you a fan of The Brood? Are you not a fan of The Brood? Have you guys seen the movie before? Have you not? Put your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications. Hit the like button. Subscribe. And remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?